Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Man Needs God official podcast. My name is Jason Garcia, and we want to thank you for coming back and watching our show. We've enjoyed everyone that's given us feedback so far on our episodes, and we have another guest that everyone's going to be raving about. So I want to go ahead and introduce who we have today. A good friend of ours here at the Corpus Christi Cathedral. Ladies and gentlemen, Deacon Fino.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here. And again, I'm a deacon, but I'm also a CPA, Certified Public Accountant.
Which is why you are here.
This is why I'm here. I'm also a professor at Del Mar College. I teach accounting, so it's kind of a dual thing. One feeds the other. Most of the staff that I have are my ex-students that have done well in class, so I hire them. So,
well, I mean, that's the training ground. If you have someone who's good, you better hire them.
Yes. So, and it's worked out. It's worked out very well. So over the years, I've picked up some tips for financial planning, things that, people should be aware of. And we'll discuss those things today.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to jump into those things because I need them. So... and then you presided over our marriage prep class, and you went over some of the finer points quickly, though, because we just didn't have all afternoon. But you went over some really great points. So I'm excited to get through those points as well. But first of all, also just wanted to jump in with some small talk. And how's Lent going for you?
Very well. I mean, this time of year, most CPAs are very busy. It is tax season. We're very popular with anybody we run into. They want to know about tax returns. They want to know about tax forms, any updates, and we'll be happy. We're happy to help them.
Well, first of all, you're a deacon, and then you're a tax guy. Of course, we're gonna be like, please, I need your help.
Absolutely.
But did you give up anything serious for Lent this year?
Seriously, no. It's kind of my usual.
No candy.
No candy. I actually gave up soft drinks, so that's like.
How's that working for you?
It's so far so good. So far so good.
You're not getting cranky, or just...
You have to ask my staff.
The telling one is ask your wife. How is he doing? Is he having withdrawals? Is he sitting in the corner? Is he shaking? You have to tell us the truth.
That is true. My wife does a lot of traveling. She's involved with a company out of Los Angeles or Anaheim called Age of Learning.
Age of Learning. What's that?
Yeah, it's a early childhood online learning platform, and so she's been involved with them for several years, and she's one of the senior advisors. So it's about teaching young kids or helping them learn at an early age, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. They think they're playing, but they're learning. So it's a very, very popular program, and she's been involved with the company for many years.
For how long?
I would say at least 15, 20 years.
15, 20 years. So didn't get to use that on the kids. We're using it on the grandkids?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're passing that information on. Yes.
And what is the name of the company again?
It's Age of Learning.
Age of Learning. Shout out. There you go. That's a plug for y'all. So I gave up everything, kind of like every year I give up something like sodas, right? Or the candies or bread or whatever. This year I kind of combined it all since, I've just been alternating them. So it's kind of just drinking water, black coffee, and eating just meat. So just, seafood on Fridays. So it was a couple of weeks in between these that have been shot between our last guest and you, so you're probably going to see like a thinner throat probably between the last time.
There are some positives.
Those are the positives. I'm trying to fit into my fitted clothing better because I kind of my clothing got a little tight, so I was like, whoa. But that's with my fault of consuming everything in the house before Lent.
You are young and your body can handle that, and when you get to my age, it's very tough.
That's just called having experience.
But you're kind.
But you have a CPA? What do you call it? A practice or a business?
CPA practice.
Practice.
We do mostly tax returns. We deal with business, all sorts of businesses, corporations, partnerships, individuals.
Churches?
Not really. Churches don't really need us because they don't file tax returns.
Oh, gotcha. Just 501c3s. Yeah.
Now we are involved with nonprofits. So we'll help them, and they have to file annual tax returns. Some don't, depending on the amount of income that comes in, but we try to help them whatever we can.
Thanks for reminding me I got to file ours.
April 15th.
Oh, gosh. If I have questions, of course, I know who to call. But so what makes someone say, numbers? Yes, I like those things. Let me do a life of that. Well, because I'm terrible with numbers. My wife will attest to that. But what brought you to being a CPA?
And really by accident. Numbers was I always loved math. And so I majored in math. I have a degree in mathematics. I was certified to teach in high school, but I got caught in between jobs. And I ended up going to an accounting firm that needed help. And the only reason they hired me is because the owner was from the University of Texas, and that's where I graduated.
Oh,
so
there
he
you
said,
go, UT.
Yeah, he said, if you want to, we'll give you an accounting job. It was very humbling because I had a 4-year degree, and I had to work at minimum wage. But I had just gotten married, and we had one child, and needed to, help out the family. So I said, let's do it. They hired me the Ides of March 15th, and that summer I got a letter from the CCISD and said, we have a teaching position for you if you want to take it. So I had to make a big decision which way I was going to go, and I saw the potential with the accounting, so I stayed with accounting, and the rest is history.
But what brought you to? What was the call? What brought you to become a deacon?
It was here in St. Joseph's Hall. I was down here. Actually, a couple of things. One of my wife's friends became a deacon, and we went to the ordination. And when I was there, I felt this. Oh my gosh! Like something was pulling me, and I didn't know. I said, "Wow!" And I didn't know what it was. But maybe a year or two later, I was down here, and Deacon Mance tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to be a deacon?" And it was like God had asked me, and and I said, "I'll try." I mean, the main thing is you almost have to offer yourself to God and say, "Okay, here I am. If you want to use me, just guide me." And I applied, and so far so good.
Oh, God bless you. That's amazing. I can tell that you were chosen by God because you were the deacon that presided over a friend of mine's father's rosary. And you got us so emotional because you led a rosary. I've never seen anyone do a rosary like the way you did. And ever since you did it, I've never had anyone perform the rosary the way you did it. Is that something you came up with, or is this something you saw, or what brought you to do the rosary? And if you can, please explain it too, so everyone knows.
Sure. What I do is called a scriptural rosary. It's a rosary that ties the life of Jesus with the life of the deceased person. And actually, it was a training. There was another deacon that gave us that script, and I loved it. I said, "God, this is great." And amazing. Most of the time, I get positive feedback. And I've even had people come up to me and says, "When I die, can you do my rosary?" And I go, I say, "Well, you need to let your family know, because I won't remember everybody's name and when and where." But
if God calls me home before you, make sure you do that for me, because it was beautiful. It was amazing.
It's an honor. Yeah, and it keeps and it's short little scripts of the scripture between each Hail Mary, and it keeps people engaged. It keeps them thinking. It talks about the life of Jesus, and then you're tying it in with the deceased in terms of when they were conceived, when they were born, when they died, and then of course the resurrection. So it's
doing, the scripture in between every Hail Mary, amazing. So I had to bring that. I just had to bring it up during this session to tell you thank you,
Thank
because
you.
I'm just Missy was next to me. I was just sitting there getting emotional and enjoying it. But thank you for learning,
I'll
teaching us all that.
Keep doing that and passing that on to other people.
But as for yourself, deacon, taxman, grandfather, now that's a lot altogether. How does that work altogether for one man? Because that seems like a lot. How do you balance deacon, fatherhood, grandfatherhood, husband?
And I will tell you, and it's almost you have to put your life in priorities. And I have the same, and I tell my staff this: look, the way life should go, you should have your priorities: God number one, family number two, and work, everything else below. And if you set up that priority, then everything seems to fall in place. Because I can't. There's no way I could do what I'm doing if it wasn't because of God's grace. I teach at Del Mar full time. I have a full-time CPA, husband. I have a wife. I have 5 children, 12 grandchildren, and then a deacon. So it's kind of like trying to balance it all. And God has given me people to help me. So, and I learned to delegate, and I try to pace myself. And you have to have prayer in your life, but you also need to balance all those things. You can't work 24/7. You can't really pray 24/7, but you do different things so that you can calm yourself, keep yourself in balance. I guess that's the thing. Keep yourself in balance. So that's what I try to do. I used to be able to play tennis more. I don't play it as much. My knees aren't what they used to be. I do a lot of bowling. I do bowl, and that 3-hour bowling once a week is like it's a relaxation because you're not thinking about anything else but trying to hit those pins. So that really helps.
But the most important thing is you're being active, and you're walking, you're doing a little bit of a squat, you're using your arms. So yeah, that's perfect. We should go bowling more. But
it's a good lifetime sport, no question about that.
So before you got married to when you got married, how did you start to arrange finances? How did that affect you? Did you start saving anything before, or were you like, oh no, I'm married now, I better start saving for the future?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is you're always trying to better yourself in terms of education, so you can get a better job, so you don't have to worry about worry about finances. But finances is a lifetime endeavor. I mean, it's almost like when you have all these professional teams, basketball teams, football teams. You have a game plan going in, but things change. And so you have to be able to adjust depending on what's going on. But the other thing that is part of that is your faith in God, your faith that God will be with you if things change, if you get some disasters that happen in your life where, it could be you're out of money. And, so you rely on family, you rely on colleagues, you rely on somebody to help you out. You just never know. You never know what kind of benefit or what advantage you'll get down the road. And part of this, all this is also giving back to God, because lots of times, you get $100 and you should say, well, $10 should be for God. Give him his 10%. And a lot of times we don't want to give up those $10, but in doing that, you get more graces. And I've tried to tell in advising couples, I said that's your balance. You got to give back, and in giving back, sometimes you will get more. And it could be like better health. It could be there's less stress in your life, all sorts of things. But there's where the balance is. I was a nervous wreck when I first got married. Because you're like, okay, I've got a wife now, I got to support, and then we had our first child a year later, and and then all of a sudden I lost my job. So it was stressful, but I always said, I've got to keep going. I've got an education, I'm healthy, I can work, and I was just looking for the right path. Where is the right path on the gifts that God gives you? Everybody's different. You can't say, okay, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a CPA, you're going to work for the refinery. Everybody's different, and you're lucky if you can find something that's your passion and you do it. It won't feel like work. But sometimes you got to work because you're trying to support your family, and try to balance life, and try to make sure that your family's taken care of.
That is a fine balance, and I know you walk the fine line perfectly because you're walking with God. That's what makes it, I guess, easier to walk that line. So one thing that we all know about women, most women want a man, whether it be a Catholic man or whatever, to be financially stable so she can settle with him, right? So what are ways a man can show his woman that he is ready and financially stable to marry him? How can he display that to her?
That's a good question. So, of course, the first thing is having a job. If you have a job and you have steady flow of income coming in, then the lady, the woman, whoever you're engaged to, is going to feel a little more comfortable. But again, things happen in life, and sometimes, sometimes you fall in love with somebody and that's it. You're in love with them, and yesterday I attended a wedding, and the priest said something that made a lot of sense, and I've known this. He says, when you come to church and you're asking for God's grace, God's going to be with the man and women. He's the glue that keeps the marriage together. But the husband and wife, they're there to support each other, take care of each other. Sometimes one will have will be higher up than the other one, but each one still has to support the other one. You can't have jealousy. You can't, if my wife earned more money than me, I would not be jealous. Maybe. No, but no, but.
So you tell her you're not allowed to work more than this,
or earn more than this, or be more famous than me. See, that's not love.
Your name's on a building, so I think you got the fame part covered.
But actually, my wife's been to the White House twice with two presidents because of her.
Nice.
I was in the Oval Office with President Clinton because she was invited to the White House. So we have a picture in the Oval Office with President Clinton, and she also had a picture with President Obama. Yeah, so she's done very well for herself, which is good. Again, you help each other, and this happened years ago because she was invited into by Carnegie Foundation to create a nationally board certified teaching certificate, and we had 4 children. And they were very young, and she asked me, can I do it? It would have been very easy for me, Mr. Machismo, to say, no, you stay home, you got to take care of the kids. But I saw, that was her gift.
That was her calling.
That was her calling. And I said, why would I hold her back? I need to be very supportive. And I said, yes. And so she was off at different trips and meetings nationally, and I was home with the kids lots of the time. So I played Mr. Mom the best way I could. The kids survived. They're all married, and so it was good.
Well, that again, back to the balancing act. She has the kids, you have the kids. It's the balancing act.
Exactly.
So I guess you kind of answered it. I was going to say, so how do you get invited to the White House? So, for a friend of mine, he's asking.
So, fast forward, she was in this Carnegie Foundation that they created a national board certification, and they had a first group of teachers to get nationally board certified. They were invited to the White House, And since my wife was one of the founding members, she introduced these teachers to the president. She sat next to the president in the Rose Garden. So, yeah, and before that, we were taken into the Oval Office, and we got to talk to him and shake his hand and all that. It was like, yeah, and so it was real funny because I shook his hand, went in. One of the teachers got sick, so I had to take her out of the compound. She was, I don't know, she was sick. So we were outside, and some people were looking in, and they said, "Is the president over there?" "Yeah, president's in there. I just shook his hand." "Really? Can I shake your hand?" I go. All of a sudden, I said, "Okay."
You're gonna take his mojo off my hand.
Right. I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't wash my hand.
But that is awesome. Like, I really hope that one day I can do something, or maybe even my wife, whoever, which one gets there first, but, do something that is recognizable to be invited to the White House.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not going to be win a Super Bowl or a baseball title, so it's got to be something. I didn't get blessed with this kind of athletic prowess, but we'll see one of these days. But men are called to protect and take care of their families in many ways. Why should men strive to become the financial staple of their family? And I can kind of answer that one. I came across, and I want to get your opinion on it. There's which Bible verse is it? But basically it says that if a man is not the financial provider of his family, then he, has basically excommunicated himself. He is not a believer, and he is a non-believer in the faith. So I thought that was a really interesting Bible quote. Maybe we don't take it that extreme, that if a man can't be the sole provider, but what do you think about that Bible verse? Do you think that should stick a little bit more often, or are we a little past that?
Well, I will tell you, I had 4 girls and 1 boy. And all including my wife, they are very independent. They are all professionals in their own way. And, in today's world, I think if you're the man of the house, you have to balance what's going on in the world. Maybe 50 years ago, it was tradition, that the man would work and the woman would stay at home, cook, take care of the kids.
My grandfather and grandmother were Catholic. 12 kids. He's the only one that worked. Yeah, my family did that. Me not so much.
That was, and nowadays, if you look at the family structure, they're both working. The woman's working, the man's working, and they're trying to balance life and, trying to raise kids. And that's a big challenge. But in terms of the financial planning, it's both of them. I mean, you have to communicate, and I've noticed that opposites attract. So, and that's God's way of doing things. Like I said, one could be a spender, one's a saver. One likes numbers, one doesn't. One likes to do the checkbook, one doesn't, and that's okay.
That sounds like my marriage.
And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you know each other's strengths and weaknesses. But you work together, you communicate with each other. This financial planning should be something that both of you are aware of. And there's certain aspects that you should be aware of in terms to protect the family. You should have health insurance. If you don't have health insurance and there's one illness, I mean, that could blow your whole budget. That could put you into financial disaster. There should be a plan, a retirement mode, from work, so there is some retirement being built up for the family. And life insurance, a lot of people don't even think about that. But especially if you're young and you have young kids, you want to have a good chunk of life insurance on each one of you. God forbid if one of you died, then the other one has to raise the children. And with what? And, so you need, once the kids get to 17 or 18, okay, they should be able to work by then. But if they're 2 and 3 and something happens, you have to protect the family that way. So there's different aspects of financial planning that men and women need to look at. It's not just, okay, I'm going to make the money, but okay, is our health insurance okay? Is our retirement plan okay? Do we have life insurance? And tax returns. What does the tax returns look like? Are we okay? Are we going to have refunds if we pay? That's a disaster. If you come in and all of a sudden you owe $4,000 at the end of the year, that could really hurt the budget for the family. And then there's stress, and the number one fight among men and women is finances.
Yeah, I did a paper when I was in school, and our topic was divorce. And I found out that finances are the number one reason in America for a couple to divorce. Number two is infidelity. They'll take cheating over finances. It's crazy. But I'll have you analyze me, see how we're doing so far. Like, I've been working over the last several years to make sure my wife and I have something, for later on. But we did start, we're trying for children, so we did get the Knights of Columbus life insurance policy for myself and my wife. So I got that set. Okay. We both have bank accounts. We both have savings with our bank. And then I got a high yield savings with Ally Bank. So that's a savings account off of my bank account, so that's separate completely. And then I opened up an IRA and a investment account. So one IRA, one investment account with Merrill. And because of my other job, they opened up an investment account with Fidelity. So trying to diversify and spread. How's that so far?
Sure. Health insurance?
We both have health insurance.
Okay, that's usually the number one thing I ask clients: do you have health insurance? Yeah. The other thing is, and a lot of people don't think about this, the will.
I don't have a will.
And that's, if you don't have a will, then the government decides who gets what. But if all these savings accounts you have, normally they'll ask you who is the beneficiary. So you need to make sure that's on there.
My spouse. I made sure that my beneficiary is my wife.
And that way that overrides any will. So, but if you have a house, if you have a ranch, rental properties, all that you have to put into a will, and especially as you build more wealth and then you have kids, then it gets into an issue. Okay, what if something happens? Who gets what? And that's always good to have a will.
I think that. Well, that second investment account was accidental because I was just trying to work things out with Fidelity. But we don't have any real estate investments yet. But we're looking to do that too eventually. Do you have that kind of stuff?
Do you have a home? Have you bought a house?
We don't have a house, but I'll inherit my mom's when she passes.
You don't, or you do?
We rent for now.
I will tell you, and I tell my clients this. There are very few things in the tax code that are tax-free, and an investment in a home is one of those. I'll give you an example. Let's say you buy a home for $150,000, and you live in there at least 2 years. You have to live there 2 years. It's your homestead. And let's say you live in there 10 years, and all of a sudden the $150,000 house is now worth $300,000. So it's grown in value. Normally it does.
Appreciated in value.
Appreciate, that's right. And then you decide to move. The law says if you lived in there 2 years and sell it, it's tax-free up to, if you're married, $500,000 profit. Goodness. So all of a sudden,
how did they let that slip through the cracks?
Well, you got to remember who makes the laws. Congress.
Yes. Is that federal, like across the board, the whole country?
Yes.
Okay, I thought maybe that was just Texas.
No, it's a whole country. So it's a good investment if you can get in there. If you can buy a home and stay there a few years. Now, there's some places in the United States that houses appreciate a lot faster. California, for example. You bought over there, you're buying $1 million house. Yeah, that's like one of our houses near here, but, in 5 years, that million is now $2 million. So you can make a killing once you sell those houses. Again, it's a little faith, a little luck. What am I buying? But I think a home is probably your first investment. As a family that you get into, because if you're paying rent, you're not getting anything. There's no equity. There's nothing. Just money going out. But for almost the same thing, you can get your own home, start building equity and get something tax-free down the road.
I've been hoping that within the next few years we can be able to make that investment, because the way the economy is, it's nice having to have your money in a little bit of, I guess one can call it collateral or such. So to have something like that is super important. And then hopefully down the road we'll be able to do, I don't know, another house, make it a rental property or something of that nature. But right now we're just sitting on those finances. Is there anything, what else could I do, or do you see there, what should I take advantage of that can help me financially?
Well, and a lot of times your employer, and I think you mentioned that your employer will have some type of retirement plan where they do a matching. So sometimes I'll talk to a client, they haven't done it yet. They haven't, or they're only doing 1%, and they'll match up to 3 or 4%. I mean, that's doubling your money. So if there's anything that your employer offers where they're matching, you need to take advantage of it. There's 2 types of retirement plans out there. There's a traditional, what we call a traditional IRA.
And then a Roth.
And then a Roth. Do you know the difference?
I don't.
Okay. And that,
enlighten me, please, because I always hear the traditional and I hear the Roth, and I really just assume that there was this one and then a newer one. That's all I know.
well, the traditional one is the old one. That's the one that's been around for years.
I was right.
Yeah. So that one, you put money in, it's tax deducted, so you pay no taxes on it. It grows over the years. I mean, you figure, let's say you put $5,000 a year for 30 years, that's $150,000. But that $150,000 should grow to at least $500,000. But when you take it out, when you retire and take it out, it's taxable. You have to pay taxes on it because you deducted it, and all the growth, the interest, you take it out, you have to pay taxes. The Roth is the opposite. The Roth, the money you put in, you cannot deduct. It's not tax deductible. So you put $150,000 in, $5,000 a year, 30 years, $150,000. It should grow to $500,000. All that extra money that you earned, when you take it out, tax free. So you pay now.
Which one do I have? Which one do I have? I don't know which one I have.
So yeah, and again, if I was your age, I would. Most people are doing the Roth. Most people are doing the Roth. Young people. People that are older, that time is on your side because you want it to grow, you know.
I'm 38, so should I do traditional or?
I would
Roth at 38.
Now you can do a combination, so you can do half one, half the other. Nothing wrong with that. Kind of hedge. Okay, I'll do a little bit of each.
But I heard that if you have multiple, you can still only contribute. Was it 5,000 or 6,000 a year altogether?
Right. There's a max. Yeah, there's
you
a
can't
max.
do like 6 here, 6 here.
No.
Stupid government. Get your hands off of my money.
Got to be guidelines.
I'm trying to save the money so I can give some to God. If anything I've learned from Joel Osteen is God wants me to be rich, I guess. So give me the money. But I think that, and I was just telling this to our guy over there. I was telling him, you need to start an IRA. I don't know much, but I know you need to start saving money. I told him the money you save today will be worth more than if you start saving in 10 years.
Exactly. Time's on your side. Let it grow. And most people, they say mañana, 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 and mañana's already 10 years down the road.
Mañana never comes.
You're right. You need to do it, even if it's small. Just do, hey, okay, I'll start with $25 a month. But you started, and then maybe next year, okay, I'm going to jump to 50, and then 70. Before you know it, you've got a little nest egg there. So the thing is to start, do something.
Yeah, mine is unfortunately less than 5 years, just a hair under 5 years old, but there's money in there. And this year, I tried some different mutual funds in there because I was dumb and I didn't know, and I was like, I've always wanted a Disney stock, and I've always wanted to own a stock of the WWE. So I was like buying these stupid stocks, and none of them really returned dividend. And I was just like, I own some Netflix. And then I realized that that's like not smart at all, especially if you only own one here and one there. So I finally did my due diligence and learned a little bit about mutual funds. So I got some money in there, and I've actually had some returns. So,
yeah. And there's some funds out there called index funds. That's also, yeah. So those index funds do not lose any money.
how's that possible?
That's the way they're set up. The worst case scenario is zero. So if the market goes south, you get zero. But if the market goes up, you get a positive. Now, that's the downside. The positive won't be as high as if you were just in a regular stock. But, again, it's a safe thing. Index fund, I'm not going to lose.
Okay. So would you say you should invest like 80-20 or 40-60 or just 50, or just spread around on mutual and index?
And when you talk to your financial advisor, they look at how risk adverse you are. So, yeah, there's no right or wrong into that. No right or wrong. You just do you want to roll the dice or not?
Was that a very intelligent way of saying I'm not recommending anything?
Pretty much.
You always have to say that. They always see that on the financial stuff. But what about ETFs? Do you do anything with the ETFs, or just kind of?
I haven't. Yeah.
They because they're supposed to be somewhat like a mutual fund or an index fund, but you can trade them quickly, and they're more in real time. Because I think with my mutual funds, I can't see what they've gained until the end of the day or something. Versus an ETF, you can see where it is right at the moment and trade it like a stock, which I had a little bit of luck with. I made a couple bucks, but I've ever since I put my money into mutual funds, it's been a whole new ball game. I was, wow, it can grow green and not go into the red. That's awesome. So
yeah,
that I've been learning. And then, like I said, I have an Ally Bank account, and that thing seems to be doing okay because the Fed keeps on raising the interest rates. So I think we're at 4.something%.
Yeah, and right now, right now is good time to just your money's real safe in credit unions, banks. Because the interest rate is close to 5%. So yeah, whenever I get somebody that comes in and a client, I'll ask them. You are taking advantage of this, because some still have enough savings where they're earning like 1% or less. I said, you might want to consider a CD. They're up to 5% right now.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here soon enough, but I'd like to ask my guests a little bit. We can dive into some of the Bible stuff. What is your favorite Bible passage? You probably got a lot, but
oh my God!
The last guest had that reaction too, like,
I think the one passage that really, whenever I feel like can't go on, the one says, God will not give you any more than you can handle. So he's always going to be there for you. And whenever there's pressure, whenever there's things that happen in your life, then okay, I can handle this. God's giving me this because I can handle it. He knows I can handle it. And that's what keeps me going. And, whenever I meet people that are going through tough times, I tell them, just got to keep going. God won't give you any more you can handle.
One of our, or the director of education here, religious education, she had told me a story where she had a problem, and she spoke to you, and your advice was so beautiful. She started crying. So she described you as a beautiful man, and that has been definitely shown here, because I'm enjoying what you're telling me and the advice that you're giving to us, because this podcast, the true, and I explained a little bit of this to you in your office, but the true purpose of this podcast is we're trying to find a way that we can empower young men, young Catholic men, but mostly young men, into becoming better, coming to the faith, and with someone like you, also teach them what they can do with their finances. Because I always see there's that trivia thing everywhere that the average American doesn't have $500 in their savings. for an emergency, and it's incredible. That should not be an issue. But on the topic of finances, is there anything else that you'd like to say about it to a young Catholic man who's ready to start his family? Not talking about me, but it might be me. It might be everyone. I don't know.
And I think we've hit the main areas. I mean, we talked about health insurance, retirement plans, life insurance, wills, and what I tell people is you need to put professional people around you. It could be a good friend of yours that became an insurance agent, or a good friend of yours that became an accountant, a good friend that became a lawyer, and you have to network. There were, as a matter of fact, it just came out in the news that the younger people are spending less time in groups, are spending less time like in Rotary clubs and things of that nature, and that's where the networking happens. So they need to go out and talk to your fellow classmates or your fellow or friends that became professionals, and that's just part of survival. You have to have that networking, otherwise, because you never know when you'll need somebody. And you have to treat. I mean, the other thing is, it's an attitude. I think life is an attitude. You have to have a positive attitude toward people. All of us have a reputation. Whether we like it or not, we have a reputation. How you treat somebody is going to come back to you. And I think you have to work at that. One of the best organizations in the world in teaching their staff how to treat people is Disney.
Yes.
Is Disney. And
I read a book written about that called Be Our Guest. And it's all about hospitality and how to treat your employees. It's really good.
It is. Yeah, we at Del Mar College, we took a group of students to Disney, and they took us behind the scenes. And at Disney World, there's an underground city. That's where the cast members prepare. And they said, actually, it was kind of weird. There's a yellow line, and they told each cast member, when you cross that yellow line, you are in character. Whether you're a street sweeper, if you're Mickey Mouse, if you're Pluto, you are in character. You can imagine if a little girl saw Snow White smoking. I mean, that would ruin her mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, you're in character.
It starts with how you treat their employees. I was reading in this where when they come in for orientation or whatever, they set the room up perfectly. And then the employees come in, and then they do training, and they go to lunch. When they come back, they redid the room, so they can get used to this organization and how everything must be clean and must be in order. So that's a great way, I think, to put it into your employees' head to be in customer service without beating it into them, like some companies will do, and then you say, "Oh, I hate this place." But
it's almost like life is that way.
Life is that way. Yeah.
So when you get up in the morning or you meet people, you have to be in character. And I'm talking about if we're with our faith, with Jesus, he wants us to pass that good news to people. And so every day we have a challenge. And I'll get people that come in that are in a very bad mood, and I tell they'll be maybe talking to my employees in a rude manner, and I tell them, look, there's something going on in their lives, and we just have to get around it. We have to figure out what that is. And lots of times it's just listening, and once you listen, they tell you, and you get them out of that. And that's the challenge we have, trying to help people everyday life.
Well, what I learned is that, especially when you're dealing with someone who's not in like a great mood or whatever, everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So if you can get them talking about themselves, usually you can help them work it out without maybe even having to say anything. It's cliche, but how does that make you feel carries a lot of weight. Like, if I'm gonna fly in here, if you are able to get them out of that and just kind of get them going, eventually they work it out themselves. And it's beautiful to watch.
It is. Of course, being a CPA, I deal with IRS agents. And there was one situation where I was dealing with an IRS agent, and my grandpa always said, everybody has a good side. You just got to look for it sometimes. So this agent, I was trying to get them to realize something about my client, and they kept saying, no, trying to really get me to blow up. And I kept calm. I kept going after him. I tried something different. And I finally, after about 15, 20 minutes, he said, you know what? You're right. I accept what you said about the agent, about the client, and we'll go ahead and give him the credit he needs. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he was trying to get a rise out of me. And I said, I refuse to do
Misery
that.
loves company. And sometimes it's just when you're in a mood, it just spreads. It spreads like a rash. So that is so amazing that you have that patience and that you can deal with people like that, because not all of us can have that kind of patience. So I got to remember that. That's another virtue of Christ. But this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so happy that you've come on and talked to us and school us on finances. Hopefully sooner or later we can get a little deeper. But thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor to be here.
That is our episode.
All right.
I
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate everything from Deacon Fino. And again, thank you for watching. If this podcast has been a blessing, please share that with your friends, especially if you know some friends that need some financial advice or if they're about to start a family. And if you can do me a favor and take an extra minute to go like our Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and of course subscribe to this channel, you will help us spread the good word of the Lord, the good word of financial freedom, and of course the good word of man needs God. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and God bless. And that's clear, people.
That's a wrap.